Hello. Good morning. Good morning. Hi, I think this is working now. Hi, my name is Andrew. This is the Ugly Review for Sunday, April 28th, 2024. It is 6:16 a.m. Central Standard Time. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Sorry I'm a little late. How are you? I hope you're having a wonderful weekend. My weekend is going just swell. I've been busy and tired, but 'tis life, huh? 'Tis life. And we're just going to jump right into things. We're going to start off with our daily Disney stock check. And the stock price at Disney is at $112.73. And we're going to go back, and we're just for reference, just for context here, we're going to go back. This is April 2nd, 2024. This is the day before they had their shareholders meeting. It's at 122.82. And since then, we are down to 112.73. So just keeping tabs on what's going on at Disney. Hold on a second. Let me close my window a little bit. Just keeping tabs on what's going on at Disney. So that's good. That's wonderful. But the news of the day, as you could probably see from the thumbnail, excuse me. If you haven't heard, Harvey Weinstein had one of his convictions overturned. That's right. Harvey Weinstein had one of his convictions overturned. This is That Park Place, April 27, 24, by Martin Stone. Harvey Weinstein was once the darling of independent movies in Hollywood. His studio was overrepresented in awards season, and he launched the careers of actors and actresses to new heights. Multiple juries of his peers also found him guilty of multiple sexual crimes in multiple jurisdictions. And on April 25th of 2024, the New York Court of Appeals, which is a higher court than the New York Supreme Court, overturned Harvey Weinstein's 2020 conviction for felonious sex crimes. This is because the appeals court found that the trial court erroneously admitted testimony of uncharged alleged prior sexual acts against persons other than the complainants of the underlying crimes, because that testimony served no material non-propensity purpose, and then compounded that error when it ruled that defendant, who had no criminal history, could be cross-examined about those allegations, as well as numerous allegations of misconduct that portrayed defendant in a highly prejudicial light. So basically, it sounds like they admitted some stories that had nothing to do with the people who were specifically bringing charges in this case. So just additional things that may have come from other people, additional charges that may have come from other people not involved in this case, just to make him look worse, if you could make him look any worse. So, it sounds like actually, It sounds like this was actually ruled correctly. If this is the case, it sounds like the appeals court actually ruled correctly here. Now, if it were you or I, they wouldn't look twice at it. So, I mean, it's nice when they have the rule of law work correctly in their favor, right? And that's the only time it really ever does work, because it's a two-tier justice system. Hell, we're getting into like a three-tier justice system, right? We're getting into a three-tier justice system where it's like the elites all the way at the top who they'll never even see the inside of a court. They could, I don't know. They aren't held accountable for anything whatsoever. And then the people just below, who they get dragged into court and it gets made a big spectacle, but they always get off scot-free. And then there's you and me. Right? They just throw us away and they lock us up and throw away the key. And you know that. I mean, I'm not telling tales out of school here. Everybody knows this is true. No big mystery. Oh, let's see. People sometimes forget that the United States has a federal system of government where each independent republic grants a portion of its governing power to the larger union government. So I'll point out here that this has no effect on Weinstein's conviction in California. Yes, the charges in New York are entirely separate crimes. So if anyone was thinking that maybe this being overturned would have him walk free, he's not walking free yet. He's still in prison. If New York's prosecutors choose, they can refile charges and begin the proceedings again. The questions are, do they want to? And what are the political advantages and disadvantages now that the Me Too moment has passed. Yeah, what happened to believe all women? Whatever happened to that? Much of the coverage you'll see on this talks at length about the effect this will have on the women who testified against Weinstein in the original trial and who may have to testify again. It's a genuine human interest about which we should all be concerned. Dissenting opinions on the court called it an unfortunate step backwards and claimed the majority whitewashed the facts to conform to a he said, she said narrative. Now, this goes on to say, do I believe he's guilty? Yes, absolutely. And so do I. He's a piece of shit. In my opinion, all sex offenders, rapists, sex offenders of every kind, diddlers of every kind, just belong under the prison. Just under the prison. Why are we wasting taxpayer dollars keeping these people fed and clothed and bathed and housed? Why? Does the work that they maybe do in prison actually produce enough for society that it's beneficial to keep them alive? I find that hard to believe. So do I believe he's guilty? Yes, I agree. Do I believe the New York Court of Appeals found correctly in this case? Yeah, probably. Yeah, and I feel that way too. Unfortunately, but because again, if it were you or I, no, don't even think about it. The whole point of an independent judiciary is to create an impartial system for the accused who are presumed to be innocent in all the United States to have their cases heard according to a standard set of rules which are known in advance. It doesn't matter that we all know a person is guilty of sin. We have to follow the process, or else someday when the force of government is brought against us, those same protections will not be there when we need them. They're not. They're not there when we need them. Usually what happens if the government abuses its power, because it does all the time, against someone like you or I, let's say the government comes to your house, right, and kicks in the door, and they say, oh, we heard that you had a fully automatic rifle in here, and you didn't have it registered. So the government comes in and kicks in your door and kills your dog and terrifies your family and traumatizes your children and everything, and then takes your guns. And it turns out that you didn't have the fully automatic firearm. They actually got some bad intel, or they were just making it up, right? Something might get done about it. So the government may end up being proven wrong, and someone might get punished for it, and you might actually get some money for it, but that's going to be like 2 years down the road, right? Your dog's dead. Your kids are still traumatized. And then that's it. It is natural and good to be incensed by evil. If we allow our laws to be perverted to ensure the conviction of guilty people, and it's especially easy to give in to the temptation when we know they are guilty, then the powerful and connected will have another means of protection for themselves and a weapon they can use against the powerless. Oh, let's see. A classic clip from Man from All Seas. I don't know. Can I show this? I don't know. Probably not. I don't need to show that. So there it is. Harvey Weinstein. And then there was this. This is April 27th of 2024. So Harvey Weinstein was then hospitalized and undergoing tests for his physical ailments. He's never looked great. Former producer Harvey Weinstein has been, this is Deadline, I think I said that. Former producer Harvey Weinstein has been hospitalized for a battery of tests regarding an undisclosed ailment, his lawyer said Saturday. Weinstein is at Bellevue Hospital in Manhattan. He arrived there Friday after returning to New York City following an appeals court ruling nullifying his 2020 rape conviction. They examined him and sent him to Bellevue. It seems like he needs a lot of help, physically. God, he's got a lot of problems, you don't say. He's getting all kinds of tests. He's somewhat of a train wreck, health-wise, says attorney Arthur Ed. Good riddance. Can you imagine being the nurse, like this guy comes in and you've got to help this guy, right? You've got to uphold your oath of being a nurse and or doctor. You got to uphold your oath. You got to help this fucking piece of shit. Craig Rothfield, his prison consultant and Department of Corrections liaison, said that we are grateful for New York City docs' care and discretion as they have been treating Harvey Weinstein's medical issues as best they can. Frank Dwyer, a spokesperson with the New York City Department of Correction, said only that Weinstein remains in custody at Bellevue. Thomas Maley, a spokesperson for the State Department of Corrections and Community Supervision, said Weinstein was turned over to the city's Department of Correction pursuant to the appeals ruling. Weinstein has been housed at the Mohawk Correctional Facility, which is about 100 miles or 160 kilometers northwest of Albany. The New York Court of Appeals vacated his conviction on Thursday. The court contended a trial judge erred when the permitted jurors to see and hear too much evidence not directly related to charges. Okay. And then this does go on to point out that he was facing a 23-year prison sentence for that one. And I believe the one, it says right here, Weinstein was in custody after the appeals ruling because he was also convicted in Los Angeles in 2022 of another rape and was sentenced to 16 years in prison. So he got 23 years in prison from his New York rape case, and he got 16 years in prison from his Los Angeles rape case. Boy, oh boy. Why is someone commenting Zendaya on this? Someone anonymous commented, Zendaya is here for the long haul. Going to become a director, a massive producer, and continue as a movie star. One of the more interesting and in-demand actor for any director and producer in town. Why is that comment here? I don't understand. Is anyone going to go see Contenders, that new Zendaya movie? Boy, I've heard some shit about that. I heard, I watched the Film Threat review of Alan and Dante, and they said, from what they've said, it basically sounds like it's a bait and switch where you think you're going to go see Zendaya have like a threesome with these two douchebags, but it ends up she just kind of lures them into a home and they have gay sex and she leaves. And I guess that's what happens. And I guess you see a lot of dick and balls and man ass in the movie and everything. And there's maybe like a little brief nudity from Zendaya, but that's it. I was actually thinking about watching the movie to see, just to see how good of an actress that Zendaya actually is not. And I don't know. I'm definitely not going to watch it in theaters. I might watch it on streaming, but I would only do so just so I could see what her acting chops are like, and that's it. And the whole movie is the whole premise of the movie seems like it's just based off of sex. What is this whole thing about? You Zoomers, man, are freaking hypersexualized. You guys are obsessed with sex and sleeping around, and you're obsessed with having the ability to just sleep around with everyone, just sleep with whoever you want. Why is that so important? Have you ever stopped to think why that's so important? Why you care so much about just the right to fuck whoever you want? It's, do I want to stop you from doing that? No. I don't give a shit who you have sex with. But why is it like the most important thing? Why do you focus on it so much? Right? And this whole, I can't remember what the culture's called. The hookup culture. The whole thing, all the apps, all the Tinder, everything. Just the apps, the lifestyle, just the nonchalant attitude towards it all. It's weird, man. And stuff like this doesn't help. Don't get me wrong. And this is how it all starts. This contributes to the cycle, right? Harvey Weinstein sexually assaults and rapes some young starlets, and they make some sexualized content, and it influences some other starlets, and Oprah gives, Harvey Weinstein some young starlets to rape, and it just continues, right? It just moves on down the line. It just keeps feeding in. It's kind of like this self-perpetuating system almost. Because the people who get taken in by Harvey Weinstein start bringing in other people, and it just keeps going and going from there. And all these producers just keep doing it because they keep getting away with it. He's just the one that got caught. I think there's far too much sex in entertainment. Far too much sex in entertainment. Far too much. All right. Excuse me. What was next? Well, we were going to go from one creepy old guy to the next. And I don't want to make this isn't like a big political show or anything. We're just talking about stuff. And we got to talk about this old stupid guy who is supposedly the president of the United States. Like I said, from one old stupid creep to another old stupid creep. I don't think I need to tell you that Joe Biden is out on his feet. He is not there. He is gone. Just gone. Right? Like, I honestly think, excuse me, sorry. I honestly think at this point, the people who handle his handlers, the people who control him, who tell him what to say, the people who pump him up full of amphetamines when he has to give a speech, I think that those people are genuinely trolling the American public. They're just like, yeah, sure. I don't know. Give him some Adderall, give him some amphetamines and stuff. Yeah, spin him around in a circle, toss him out there, and he'll say some crazy shit. And what are they going to do about it? What are the plebs going to do about it? I genuinely, seriously. What would it surprise you if that's what they're doing? Let's listen to the potato. My gosh. Horde my beaver. Let's listen to the potato. So he was on Howard Stern's show, and what's the date on this? April 26th. He was on the Howard Stern show, and Howard Stern's another piece of shit. But he said some things. So the description here, this is from Greg Price on Twitter. On Howard Stern's show today, Biden claimed that A, he saved 6 people from drowning as a lifeguard. Lie. B, he received salacious pictures from women in the 70s that he handed to the Secret Service. Definitely a lie, and senators don't have Secret Service. C, that he was arrested as a kid while standing with a black family on their porch as people were protesting desegregation. Lie. And D, that he was a runner-up in state scoring in football, which was all. Let's just listen.
I learned a lot. And I made a lot of friends.
Did you ever save anyone's life when you were a lifeguard? Was anyone ever drowning?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah, well, half a dozen times. Usually younger kids, you know.
Half a dozen times.
You do the thing with the whistle and then jump in the bathing suit? And
you got it.
No kidding.
Yeah, there's a big pool. There were 7 lifeguard stands.
Wow. See, that would define my. I would brag about that everywhere I went.
Well, by the way, I did it up in Lake Ontario, too, when I was in law school. But look, one of the things that...
Well, you saved a dude's life when you were in law school? You were still doing the lifeguard thing?
Yeah, lifeguards, I mean, you know, people just need help sometimes. I mean, it's not like it's so heroic.
All right, now what's next? What's next?
I got put in that 10 most eligible bachelors list.
Because you were a United States Senator, you were a catch.
And so, and a lot of lovely women, but women would send very salacious pictures, and I just give them to the Secret Service. I thought somebody would think I was, and I just gave up.
Okay, now.
And I looked at my mom. I said, "Honey, you haven't said anything." She said, "Joey, let me remember." True story. She said, "Remember when they were desegregating Linfield, the neighborhood? There was, 70 homes built at one suburbia." And I told you, and there was a black family moving in, and there was people who were down there protesting. I told you not to go down there, and you went down. Remember that? And you got arrested, be standing on the porch with a black family.
Right.
And they brought you back, the police. And I said, "Yeah, Mom, I remember that."
All right, let's just wrap it up with this one.
But for example, I remember starting off playing Catholic League football, CIO football.
By the way, I don't think a lot of people know that you were a star receiver in high school. You were like the first string guy. You were the guy who caught the ball.
Runner-up in state, scoring,
Wow.
But I was a runt. But for example, I remember starting off playing Catholic League football.
Oh, my. And, I mean, there you go. And we've got even more. There's even more, right?
I learned a lot.
Oh, crap.
And I made a lot of
There's even more. This is memology. Where did it go? Is this the one? Oh, okay. This is wrong. But remember when he said this?
I wanted to go to the war memorial that has the names of all the Scrantonians who died in World War II etched into a granite wall. Because I wanted to see where my Uncle Bosie Ambrose J. Finnegan,
Yes.
where his name was etched.
Yep.
Back when D-Day occurred,
Uncle Bosie.
and on Sunday, the next day,
Yes.
my mother's 4 brothers all went down to the recruiting station and joined the military.
Mm-hmm.
Every one of them volunteered. And my uncle, they called him Ambrose.
What do you think these people back here are thinking? Like, honestly, you think they're getting paid? Like, what in God's name would you possibly be thinking? Let's say, like, these people, let's say they're completely bought into the system, right? They watch the CNN, they watch the MSNBC, they drink the soy, they take the shots, they do it all, right? And they're like, oh, God, Joe Biden's just the best. He's the smartest. He's sharp as a tack. I just can't wait to meet him. And he shows up, and they get into the room, and they're handed all these flyers and all this bullshit and everything. The cameras are set up, and they get into position. And then finally, the Secret Service starts pouring in and checking everyone out. And they're like, oh, my God, Joe Biden's coming. The president's finally here. He's here. He's here. And then Joe Biden walks in. He shuffles in, stumbles in, trips, gets up, shuffles over, starts talking to you about corn pop and shit and mumbling and drooling on himself, and he falls asleep. And then finally they give him a sniff, a big old whiff of cocaine or some amphetamine or something, and he perks up and he starts going into this. What would you be thinking? Like, do you think you would retain your political leanings? You think you'd still vote for him?
They call him Bosie. My Uncle Bosie. Was a hell of an athlete, they tell me, when he was a kid.
Yep.
And he became an Army Air Corps before the Air Force came along. He flew those single-engine planes as reconnaissance over war zones. And he got shot down in New Guinea, and they never found the body because there were a lot of cannibals for real in that part of New Guinea. But one of the things that I was
Okay, so Joe Biden at this point, like, I'm wondering if his brain is just grabbing, like, random stories that he's watched on TV and putting it into his life or something, like stories from Reader's Digest or something. I don't know. That's the only thing. And then, of course, you've got this moron, and we'll stop. I know, we're just making fun of people today, okay? What did she say?
That his Uncle Bosie was eaten by cannibals.
So, I answered this question yesterday. I believe I've seen some clips on your network about me answering this question. I don't have much to say beyond what I said to some of your colleagues. Look, I was there. I think you traveled with us too to Pennsylvania. I'm not sure if you were there at the memorial in Scranton. The president had a emotional and I think a symbolic moment. He had an opportunity as president to honor his uncle's service in uniform.
Hold on.
He had an opportunity to be there as president to honor his uncle's service, and I think a symbolic moment.
A symbolic moment. So the president of the United States had a symbolic moment when he stuttered and stammered and told everyone there and told an international audience that his Uncle Bosie got shot down during D-Day and landed near Papua New Guinea and didn't make it because of the cannibals. That was symbolic of what? Our decline? Your bullshit? Because the leader of Papua New Guinea, the prime minister, he came out and was like, this is stupid. You guys are stupid. Your president is stupid. President, this is on, this is Time via Microsoft Start. I don't know, I just found it. President Joe Biden is known for putting his foot in his mouth, you think? But his latest gaffe has left a sour taste 9,000 miles away. During a visit last week to a war memorial in Pennsylvania, the president recounted the story of his aviator uncle, Ambrose Finnegan, Uncle Brosy, or Bozy, or whatever the fuck, who died during World War II in a plane crash when Biden was 1. He got shot down in New Guinea, and they never found the body because there used to be a lot of cannibals, for real, in that part of New Guinea. Biden said, adding that U.S. authorities managed to recover parts of the plane. The details of Biden's retelling weren't exactly right. U.S. defense records show that Finnegan and 2 others went missing after their plane, for unknown reasons, was forced to ditch in the ocean and that no trace of the aircraft was found, while the White House confirmed that the crash occurred over the Pacific near New Guinea, but not in it. But Biden's seemingly offhand suggestion that his uncle was eaten has sparked the sharpest blowback, particularly from Papua New Guinea's Prime Minister James Marape. President Biden's remarks may have been a slip of the tongue. However, my country does not deserve to be labeled as such, Marape said in his statement on Sunday. So, again, embarrassing us on an international stage. From one, we're just lorded over by a bunch of senile old pedophiles. And we're not doing anything about it. Weird, huh? So, and in a bid to boost his numbers with the black vote, I'm sure, this is Politico, Biden is delaying on planning the ban on menthol cigarettes. So, I don't know if you remember this, but they had planned to ban menthol cigarettes for whatever reason. You know, it's one of this bullshit things that probably has something to do with climate change if you asked them. But it's one of these bullshit things where they say they care about your health, right? And in reality, it's just one more thing. It's just one more little bit of control to drive you a little crazy. It's just one more little thing that maybe they can get a fine on. Maybe it's just one more little thing that they can get a tax on somehow, right? They do everything for a reason. It's just a nefarious reason. It's not the reason they tell you. It's always a bullshit reason. Okay? But the delay comes after the proposed ban drew fire from tobacco companies and other groups that argued an end to menthol cigarette sales could create an illicit market that would impact minorities the hardest. President Joe Biden is delaying an FDA plan to ban menthol cigarettes, a move that could effectively kill any chance the rule will be released before the election in November. This rule has garnered historic attention, and the public comment period has yielded an immense amount of feedback, including from various elements of the civil rights and criminal justice movement. Health and Human Services Secretary Xavier Becerra said in a statement Friday, "It's clear that there are still more conversations to have, and that will take significantly more time." Jesus. Becerra's statement came shortly after the Wall Street Journal published a story that the Biden administration had decided to reverse course and not issue the rule, which has been in a final review at the White House for 6 months. Excuse me. The decision to delay the ban rather than abandon it means the White House could revive the rule if Biden wins re-election in November, said 3 people familiar with the matter who were granted anonymity to discuss internal deliberations. So, basically what that means is we're trying to get some of the black vote back. We're trying to get some of the black vote back, and we know that black people like menthol cigarettes. So we'll pretend like it's going to go away for the election, but if I get back into office, we're going to get rid of your menthol cigarettes. I really, why would anyone believe this? But there's little expectation that it will be released during Biden's first term, as health officials inside the administration, including FDA Commissioner Robert Califf, had originally planned. Let's see. The delay comes after the proposed ban drew fire from tobacco companies and other groups that argued an end. We just read that part. Some civil rights leaders also warned that a prohibition would encourage further over-policing of black communities. Always an opportunity, right, to push the message. But anti-smoking advocates, including the American Cancer Society, Cancer Action Network, and the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids, have continued to push the Biden administration, saying the ban would save hundreds of thousands of lives. Several prominent civil rights groups, including the NAACP, also favored prohibiting menthol cigarettes. So the NAACP wants to ban menthol cigarettes. Interesting. I didn't know that. I'm learning all sorts of stuff about this. Let's just go on. Public health groups have spent more than a decade advocating for a ban on menthol, which remains the only flavored cigarette allowed on the market. Now you've just got vape of every kind of flavor under the sun, right? You get like all these weed flavors. You get cookie dough. They've got sherbet, sorbet. They've got all sorts of ice creams and candies and fruits and everything like that. I mean, just walk into any vape shop and they just have buckets of that flavored nicotine goop everywhere. Everywhere. I mean, I'm one to talk. I vape Delta 8 like when I go to bed at night. So, I don't know. It's probably not the best thing in the world. Should probably stop. But I don't want to force other people to stop. If you want to do that, if you want to smoke, for the love of God, smoke. I don't care. I don't care if you smoke in a restaurant. As long as the restaurant's okay with it. I remember they used to have in the steak and shakes, they would have the smoking section. The smoking half would basically, it was just a partition, like a little glass partition that you could peek over. So you'd be sitting here and the cigarette smokers would literally be on the other side of the wall. So it didn't really fucking matter. And we didn't care. None of us cared. God, we're pussified. Where am I? Public health groups have spent more than a decade advocating for a ban on menthol, This White House represented their best shot, they believed, given Biden's decision to make fighting cancer a central plank of his presidency. Biden relaunched the Cancer Moonshot Initiative, with officials at one point including a prospective menthol ban as evidence of the progress the administration would make in combating the disease. The government doing anything positive about cancer research is a moonshot, considering that cancer is big business. The cancer industry is massive business. Billions and billions and billions of dollars a year, right? The medical industry, this is how the medical industry works with the food industry. The government allows, the deep state pushes for you to be poisoned through the food supply. Then they push for you to get the medication through the pharmaceutical industry. And if you get something like cancer, then you get to be part of the cancer industry, big business cancer industry. Billions of dollars a year. It does not benefit them to cure cancer because then they lose all their business. It's the same thing for the pharmaceutical companies. They want you sick. They want you sick. Pfizer is ecstatic. Pfizer kicked up their heels when the coof came out. I mean, were they I don't think, there's some things I can't say, I guess, on YouTube. I don't know. But would it really surprise you if they were all in on it? Like, would it surprise you? No, it wouldn't surprise you. No. Why do you think they don't want any of their documents released? They don't want you to know the truth. Come on. The truth is they're poisoning you, and then they cure the effects of the poison by giving you a different poison. So what's the trick? We have to disconnect from their system. Where'd we go? Biden relaunched the Cancer Moonshot. We read that. The FDA's experts have been clear that menthol cigarettes are harmful to public health, said Rep. Robin Kelly from Illinois. Oh, boy. A Democrat from Illinois. I don't know. Democrats from Illinois, Democrats from New York, Democrats from California. I don't know which ones are worse, but the Republicans aren't much better either. So I'm not really anti-Democrat or anti-Republican. I'm anti-politician. The chair of the Congressional Black Caucus's Health Brain Trust adding that she is deeply disappointed by the decision. This is a common sense plan which could have saved hundreds of thousands of lives. It's not the job of the government to save lives, right? The only way the government should be focusing on saving people's lives is protecting the border. And yeah, that's about it, right? And making sure that there's not serial killers running around and pedophiles, but the government is pedophiles, so that should be the job of the government. But that's it, right? Other than that, there's nowhere does it say that the government should be regulating anything other than a border and the post office. Huh. Oh, boy. And they give themselves big fancy names. The Congressional Black Caucus's Health Brain Trust. Caliph has pursued a ban on menthol since taking over the agency in early 2022, viewing it as a critical public health priority. But after finishing a rule last year, the plan stalled amid pushback from a handful of black community organizations, including the National Action Network, run by close-by ally Al Sharpton, that fueled White House concerns the ban would damage Biden's eroding standing with minority voters. There you go. The tobacco industry also enlisted former black Democratic lawmakers to argue against the ban. Okay, all right, then we're done with this. I got off on a tangent there about some politics and whatever. It's going to be part of the show, I guess. This is basically just turned into a variety show of talking about whatever the fuck. And so far, we've only talked about creepy pedophiles. Oh, by the way, I'll bring this up right now since we're talking about creepy pedophiles. I went looking for any information on Sean Diddy Combs, and there's not really too much news out there other than here. We can look together, right? Let's just type in P. Diddy and go to news, okay? Just because I did look this morning. God damn it. I hate this when it does this. How do I change this? Just do this. Sorry. But here's the news story. So this one was one day ago. P. Diddy asked court to dismiss sexual assault lawsuit due to legal technicality. Okay, so he's just in court asking them to get rid of the case. That's not... strange video of 15-year-old Justin Bieber and P. Diddy emerges. And that was 22 hours ago. But I've watched that video already on here. And I watched that, it's an old video. And you can find it on YouTube. It's been out there. So that's not news. Justin Bieber cries for help on fans to Instagram. Is P. Diddy behind it? P. Diddy's on the bottom of the list of people I wanted to meet. P. Diddy is smart enough to have alibis. Kesha changes TikTok lyrics to fuck P. Diddy. Holy shit. During surprise appearance at Renee Rapp's Coachella. I don't know who that is. People are turning on P. Diddy, huh? Kesha and Renee Rapp blast P. Diddy. I guess let's see what that is. And see, that was 2 weeks ago. And no one's talked about that, so it's not. So she just said, fuck P. Diddy. Okay. There's not really anything going on with it. Easy, Justin. Easy. He's crying. Just what is this? Alba Waba, your gateway to the Middle East. Justin Bieber cries for help to fans on Instagram. Is P. Diddy behind it? What the fuck? Alba Waba. Canadian pop star Justin Bieber is the talk of social media after concerning his fans with a post of his official Instagram account, crying his eyes out. His fans started contemplating the issue, deeming it a possible cry for help. The photos in question showed Justin zooming into the camera as tears dropped from his eyes. Some users on X, formerly known as Twitter, took to the platform in speculation about the photos, as many put the blame on Hollywood. Here's what they had to say. We just want to get to the P. Diddy part. Okay? We just want to get to the P. Diddy part. And Elon, just change X back to Twitter. Everyone has to say formerly known as Twitter every single fucking time. If you just come out and you just say, "Hey, I tried something different. It didn't catch on like I thought it would, but you live and you learn," and then you switch it back to Twitter, no one's gonna care. Let's see. One user linked the crying to a desperate call from help and claimed that the star was allegedly abused by Hollywood elites. Justin Bieber? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Another added, "How Justin became a shadow of himself is still beyond me. He was bright. He was good. He had so much potential. But then, what?" And someone answered, "Hollywood." Which is correct. Take in mind, these are all rumors and alleged. So just, is P. Diddy behind it? But no one's mentioned P. Diddy. Hold on. Justin Bieber just posted a picture of himself crying, and rumors are circulating that he's desperate for help after abuse by the Hollywood elites. Okay. Or this just could be some weird, creepy Hollywood art thing. They all, I mean, it could be just that pretentious as fuck. It really could be. This is the video. This is the creepy video. Remember this?
Justin, you ever seen the movie 48 Hours? Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, like where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream. I have been given custody of him. He signed to Usher.
I'm signed to Usher.
I had legal guardianship of Usher when he did his first album. I did Usher's first album. I don't have legal guardianship of him, but for the next 48 hours, he's with me. So and we gonna go full crazy.
I'm going crazy.
What does that mean? Meaning what? Diddy. As a parent, what do you I cannot imagine any amount of money that would convince me to allow my child to do something like this. I cannot imagine any amount of money. Maybe that's just me. The same user, Diana Wallace on X, shared a video of P. Diddy, who's been recently accused of sexual assault and human trafficking allegations with Justin Bieber, saying he wanted to have a 48-hour sleepover with him. He wanted to? No. He said they are going to. They did. He had him for 48 hours. Hailey Bieber, Justin's wife and an American model, was not included in the photos mentioned above, leading to more concern among fans and news outlets that she might have left him amid marital problems, rumors circulating since 2023. But she did leave a reply on his posting, a pretty cry. Don't you fucking hate the way that people communicate via social media? Like when they're trying to...
Did you ever save anyone's life when you were a lifeguard? Was anyone
God
ever drowning?
Damn it. Sorry. Where'd I go? Don't you hate it? Do you hate it when people are trying to have like an adult emotional conversation via social media where everyone can see it? And don't get me wrong, I've been there. I've done it too. It's been a long time since I have, because I don't have a Facebook account anymore. But we've all done it, right? You're going through a tough time in a relationship, so you Google for, quotes about broken hearts and stuff, and you get one that's real artsy and rustic, and it's only, like 2 or 3 lines that say, "A broken heart only heals when you learn the lesson." And you post it, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, someone's having problems. I wonder if they..." And then they all post really inspiring things to be like, "Just stay strong, queen. You don't need him. You don't need them. They, them. You're better with that. It's okay. I'm here for you. Should I bring a box of wine over?" And you put all your business out there on the social media. And so then your boo does the same thing, as a response. And then you're all just going back and forth. And so now you're communicating via these weird, like, rustic poem memes. And it's like where you should just sit down in the living room face to face and have an adult conversation. This is why we can't get anything done anymore. This is why we are concerned for the future, because people don't grow up. People can't act like adults. And I understand it's hard for them to grow up when they've got people like P. Diddy running around playing grab ass with them. That's why we have to put the pedophiles under the prison. Under the prison. Right? Look, I'm all for public executions. I really am. Every Saturday, high noon, at the end of the farmer's market, right? Because the farmer's market goes from like 6 a.m. to noon. And you don't want to do it beforehand because people are going to be eating breakfast and having their coffee and whatnot. So, you know. But high noon, well, make it like 12:07. Like a football kickoff. It's always at a funny hour. It's never 12:01. It's never 12:05. It's like 12:04, 12:07. So 12:07 p.m. Local time. Saturday, Town Square, the worst of the worst, and just have some gallows. Bring out some gallows, right? And people can take bets on how long it takes. The thing is, when you do that, it sends a real powerful message. It sends a very strong message. And you let it hang there for a while, and you say, to any of you who might have designs of doing what this piece of shit did, just take a look. Because that'll be you. Sorry, I'm just looking at something real quick on my YouTube. Okay. All right. Well, I wasn't planning on talking about all this, but such is a live stream. What do we have next? Oh, I talked about Karine Jean-Pierre, stupid bitch. Menthol cigarettes. Okay. We're going to jump back into the entertainment section of things. Right after I go to the restroom. So you should do the same. Top off your coffee. How's my caffeinated beverage doing? Top off your coffee. Do whatever it is you're going to do. I was going to take a quick restroom break. I'm going to have to get a pause screen. Do I have to get like Streamlabs for that or something? I don't know. I'll figure it out later. That's not your issue. Restroom break. Be right back. Welcome back. I don't think I missed anyone. Oh. How's the weather in your neck of the woods? It's rainy here. I like it, though. I like a good rainy day. It's been a very rainy weekend. I like a good rainy day. It's a good day for working on the computer. It's a good morning to stream. It's a good day to work on the Rebel Moon Part 2 video. That thing's going to be like an hour long. And it's probably going to take me a little longer than before because since the Rebel Moon Part 1 video that I made, which is my most successful video in this very, very, very young journey of mine. I appreciate all the views and support, by the way. I really, really do. I'm very grateful for that. I appreciate it. That one, I wasn't too sure. It was, like I said, it's only my second video, so I wasn't too sure of what I could and could not do and get away with. Now I have a much better understanding of the kind of content that I could put in, or like, the length of video I can put in and how I have to cut it up and edit and chop it up and everything like that. So before I had used the Rebel Moon trailers and basically like cut it up in part 1 and then used some images, some stills from the movie and everything like that. But this one I'm probably going to use a lot more imagery just directly from the actual film itself rather than just the trailers, just because I can and I understand a lot more how to do it. But I've just been trying like some different styles of how to actually write. Because the first one I did like very much just a standard script where I just went through the movie, wrote it out, and then recorded the voice, and then went back and kind of chopped up video to match the voice. I didn't do it as I went along. I watched the movie, wrote a script, and then went back and recorded the script audio, and then went back and chopped up the video and laid it out per the audio. So I don't know. I don't know if that's the most streamlined. I know it doesn't sound very streamlined, so it's probably not. But we'll see. Yeah. These Hollywood people are fucked up. Are they not? What's next? They are. It was a rhetorical question. So speaking of Hollywood, and there's really no easy transition for this, but it's a big story, so we got to talk about it. So is George Lucas coming back to Star Wars? Is George Lucas coming back to Star Wars? Maybe. Maybe. Does anyone care? That's probably the bigger question, right? Does anyone give a shit? Does anyone care if George Lucas comes back to Star Wars? A lot of questions on this one. A lot of questions going on. Honestly, now that I think about it, this probably should have been the thumbnail. George Lucas should have been the thumbnail. I mean, the Harvey Weinstein thing, that's a big story, though. That's big. It's a big story. I guess it would have been an even bigger story. He'd be out of prison, but hopefully he dies in prison. George Lucas, this is that Park Place, April 25th, 2024. John F. Trent. George Lucas is reportedly returning to Star Wars for a new live-action series. There he is. There's the man, the myth, the legend himself. Former Star Wars assistant director and second unit director Roger Christian claims that George Lucas is returning to Star Wars and will be involved in a new live-action series. Christian, who won an Academy Award for the original Star Wars film for Best Production Design, revealed in a recent interview with YouTuber Star Wars Theory that George Lucas is returning to Lucasfilm to work on a new live-action series, and here's that video.
I think by the end of the 6, he was so exhausted by it all that in the end, but I think he's coming back. I'm pretty sure now that he's doing.
You see that real quick? When he said that, you see like how Theory perked up.
But I think he's coming back. I'm pretty sure now that he's doing a series. I think that they're now bringing him into the fold. From what I hear, because there's a Star Wars live action series coming, and I've got a strong suspicion that George will have something to do with that.
So okay, so I wonder if the live action he's referring to is the Mando and Grogu, right? Because that was gonna be it'd be season 4 of The Mandalorian. It was gonna be, and then they decided they were gonna turn it into a movie. So I'm wondering if that's what he's talking about. I think that's probably, unless there's something else. I mean, the Acolyte's already in the can. It's ready to go. It's gonna go out June. So I don't know. I know that they were planning on maybe like I can't remember the name of the other one, the other live action, the something about a squad or something. I don't know. I can't remember. But let's keep going.
That's what I'm thinking is, and I might be prophesying.
Are you pulling my leg?
No. That's what I had heard. And
okay, I you can tell that Star Wars Theory is really excited. It's like, and I understand, I get it. I just don't know if I could be that excited about it, man. I really don't. I don't. What's he gonna do? What major difference? What big difference is George Lucas gonna bring to Star Wars? And does anybody? Nobody cares, dude. Star Wars is dead. Like, what could he possibly do that would save or help Star Wars? I don't know. It would have to be something as good as the original trilogy, right? I mean, I don't know. Maybe it could be as good as the prequels. Maybe, because everything we've gotten lately has been so unbelievably bad. Maybe. And then then it would look like, comparatively, it would look to be as good as the original trilogy. So maybe that could do it, but I don't think so. I don't think there's enough people right now who give a shit. I don't care. Lord.
Read and I don't know from anything apart from I'm prophesizing that might happen, because you've seen he's been very physically present there. He's been down on the sets and everything.
Yeah.
And Dave Filoni has done such an incredible job of being George.
Really? That's an interesting comment.
And bringing back everything that George,
he's I always say, and Dave gets a lot of flack just as George did, but he is the only sort of the closest thing we have to George there.
He is.
Dave Filoni, the closest thing to George Lucas, currently at Disney. I don't know about that. I would lean towards saying that Jon Favreau's, just from a talent standpoint.
I think Jon Favreau does a good job too. I don't know.
Yeah, he does.
With a few of the projects there, but
he's fantastic. And the two of them are together. They're a perfect kind of team. It's interesting with George. Here's something else. So when I'm doing the documentary and I was looking at everything, and I realized that George has another talent which has gone unsung, is that across the board, he's hired people. Me and John Barry, we were pretty young. We had a bit of experience, but we weren't jaded in the fact that, no, Gov, that doesn't work like that. This is how we always do it. It works. George wrote stuff that couldn't be done, and he always said, I put it out there, and I figured out someone would make it work. Same with Richard Edlund and ILM, the formings of that. They were untried as far as anything to do with special effects. They had to invent computers. They had to do all of that. Across the board, that even the costume designer had never done costume design before. He was the lieutenant on Gandhi and other things. He was a supervisor. And even the posters, when he did the original posters, he chose very young, unknown people who weren't like classic.
Yeah.
Chose the same with actors. He's done that all the way along. And when Dave Filoni, his story that I read, I've never met Dave, but he was an animator at Disney.
I'm trying to figure out what he's talking about.
And they invited several people to go to be in charge of.
I know I let it go there for a minute, but he was really just going on and on and on, about like this. It's really drawn out. I'm trying to figure out what he's talking about. I'm trying to figure out if he's, it sounds like he's saying George has a really good talent of finding young people, young unproven talent. I think that's what he's saying in a very long-winded way. I think.
The Clone Wars, the animation series, and Dave says himself, he said, well, I flew that to San Francisco.
Yeah, he was doing Avatar. Avatar the Airbender.
Okay, I don't want to. If you guys want to finish watching that, go check out Star Wars Theory. Does some really good stuff. Really good stuff. I'm sure you all know who he is. I'm sure you know who he is. But it goes on. The article goes on. So, yeah, Christian stated, I think he's coming back. I'm pretty sure now that he's doing a series. I think that they're now bringing him into the fold from what I hear because there's a Star Wars live-action series coming, and I've got a strong suspicion that George will have something to do with that. That's what I'm thinking, and I might be prophesying. That's what I had heard and read, he continued. I don't know from anything apart from I'm prophesizing that might happen because you've seen he's been very physically present there. He's been down on the sets and everything. He's been physically present. He has not been in good physical health. George is 82, 83. Man, he might be older than that. How old is George Lucas? Jesus Christ. Oh, 79. Oh, wow. Okay. I thought he was 8. Why did I think he was 80? Probably because I'm stupid. Christian's comments come in the wake of George Lucas supporting the Walt Disney Company amid its proxy battle against Nelson Peltz. In the middle of March, a statement from Lucas read, "Creating magic is not for amateurs." George, you were an amateur when you created Star Wars. We want unprovens in Hollywood, right? We want talented amateurs in Hollywood. We want talented unknowns creating this stuff. It's just a really stupid thing to say. And I wonder if he even wrote that. Right? I'm being serious. I wonder if he even wrote that. It's just, God, it sounds so bad. When I sold Lucasfilm just over a decade ago, I was delighted to become a Disney shareholder because of my longtime admiration for its iconic brand and Bob Iger's leadership. And we were all excited too. We thought it was a good fit. He continued, when Bob recently returned to the company during a difficult time, I was relieved. No one knows Disney better. I remain a significant shareholder because I have full faith and confidence in the power of Disney and Bob's track record of driving long-term value. I have voted all of my shares for Disney's 12 directors and urge other shareholders to do the same. This statement was bizarre given Lucas's public statements were critical of the Walt Disney Company and its handling of Star Wars after he sold the company for over $4 billion back in 2012. For example, in an interview with Charlie Rose ahead of the release of The Force Awakens in 2015, Lucas described the Walt Disney Company and its leadership, including Bob Iger, as white slavers. He said, "These are my kids. Oh, these are my kids, all the Star Wars films. I love them. I created them. I'm very intimately involved with them. I sold them to the white slavers, and it gets real kind of awkward."
They looked at the stories and they said, "We want to make something for the fans." So I said, all I wanted to do was tell a story of what happened. It started here. And
I'm not going to watch this whole 3 minutes.
And it's about, the issues of fathers and sons and grandfathers, and it's a family soap opera.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, I mean, space, we call it space opera, but people don't realize it's actually a soap opera, and it's all.
You know the funny thing about saying it's a space opera? If you go to Wikipedia and you look up Rebel Moon, it will say Rebel Moon is a space opera by Zack Snyder. I'm not kidding.
All about family problems and that. It's not about spaceships. So
say the thing.
They decided they didn't want to use those stories. They decided they were going to go do their own thing, and so I decided, fine, but basically I'm not going to try to. They weren't that keen to have me involved anyway. But at the same time, I said I'm not going to. If I get in there, I'm just going to cause trouble because they're not going to do what I want them to do. So.
Am I going to get dinged for this?
And I don't have the control to do that anymore, and all I would do is muck everything up.
I don't know.
So I said, okay, I will go my way, and I'll let them go their way. And it really does come down to a simple rule of life.
Okay, all right. I'm not going to watch the whole thing here. CEO Bob Iger also noted in his memoir, The Ride of a Lifetime. Bob Iger would have a fucking memoir, wouldn't he? Lessons learned from 15 years as CEO of the Walt Disney Company that Lucas felt betrayed by how he and Disney went about creating their sequel trilogy. Iger wrote, "At some point in the process, George told me that he had completed outlines for 3 new movies. He agreed to send us 3 copies of the outlines, one for me, one for Alan Braverman, and one for Alan Horn, who'd just been hired to run our studio. Alan Horn and I read George's outlines and decided we needed to buy them, though we made clear in the purchase agreement that we would not be contractually obligated to adhere to the plot line he's laid out." Iger added, "He knew that I was going to stand firm on the question of creative control, but it wasn't an easy thing for him to accept, and so he reluctantly agreed to be available to consult with us at our request. I promised that we would be open to the ideas. This was not a hard promise to make, of course. We would be open to George Lucas's ideas, but like the outlines, we would be under no obligation." So real quick while I'm thinking about it, and I don't know if this goes. This is the first time reading the article for me. Real quick, if you watch Doomcock Overlord DVD on YouTube, he had a video where he said, now this is rumor, right? I'm just going based off of rumor from Doomcock, so go check out his video. But he had stated that it may be that George Lucas, that Bob Iger rather, has offered some kind of maybe a significant amount of creative control back to George Lucas because of the fact that George Lucas did vote all of his shares for Bob Iger, right? Maybe there was this deal in place where George Lucas was like, where Bob was going to ask George to come back to help, and George said, "I will give you my vote of confidence and the shares if you give me back creative control of Star Wars. I will only come back if I get creative control." And Bob said, "That's fine, but you got to vote all your shares for me." So, and then there was also something that maybe Kathleen Kennedy was not too happy about that. But nobody cares what the fuck Kathleen Kennedy thinks because she doesn't know how to think. And that's just a fact. Let's see. Next, Iger shared, early on, Kathy brought JJ and Michael Arndt up to Northern California to meet with George at his ranch and talk about their ideas for the film. George immediately got upset as they began to describe the plot, and it dawned on him that they weren't using one of the stories he submitted during the negotiations. He went on to admit they had no intention of ever using Lucas's outlines. The truth was, Kathy, JJ, Alan, and I had discussed the direction in which the saga should go, and we all agreed that it wasn't what George had outlined. George knew we weren't contractually bound to anything, but he thought that our buying the story treatments was a tacit promise that we'd follow them, and he was disappointed that his story was being discarded. I'd been so careful since our first conversation not to mislead him in any way. I doubt it, Bob. And I did. Here's what Bob Iger just said in his memoir. I'd been so careful since our first conversation not to mislead him in any way, and I didn't think I had now, but I could have handled it better. This is a guy who, on like 3, 4, 17 different occasions has come out in the public and said, we're not getting political. We shouldn't be political. And if we've been political in the past, we're going to reverse course. And then continues to be political. Like, why should anyone believe a fucking word Bob Iger says? A single word. I should have prepared him for the meeting with JJ and Michael and told him about our conversations, that we felt it was better to go in another direction. I could have talked through this with him and possibly avoided angering him by not surprising him. He then shared that Lucas felt betrayed. Now, in the first meeting with him about the future of Star Wars, George felt betrayed, and while this whole process would never have been easy for him, we'd gotten off to an unnecessarily rocky start. Iger also detailed that Lucas did not like what Disney did with The Force Awakens. He shared just prior to the global release, Kathleen Kennedy screened The Force Awakens for George. He didn't hide his disappointment. There's nothing new, he said. The Disney CEO continued, in each of the films in the original trilogy, it was important to him to present new worlds, new stories, new characters, and new technologies. In this one, he said, there weren't enough visual or technical leaps forward. Right. It was all member berries. And they didn't, because it wasn't made by creative people. People who are, these people are so much dumber than you, George. So much dumber. God, I can only imagine his disappointment. And think about, George was probably thinking like what we were all thinking, right? It's in the hands of Disney, and you're like, oh my God, Disney's made some wonderful stuff. This is going to be great. Right? We were all in that mindset. It was a different paradigm. It's exactly what it was. It's been a paradigm shift. It's exactly what it is. The Disney CEO continued, in each of the films in the original trilogy, it was important to him to, In 2020, Lucas made an appearance at the East Harlem School at Exodus House as part of the virtual speaker series. Lucas was asked by 7th grader Jeremiah, the world has changed so much since the first Star Wars movie. How do you think the changes in the fight for racial justice will impact the Star Wars universe going forward? The filmmaker responded, I don't know. I mean, I kind of lost control of Star Wars, so it's going off on a different path than what I intended. He added, but the first 6 Star Wars films are very much mine and my philosophy. And I think that philosophy sort of goes beyond any particular time.
Yeah, well,
because it's
a dozen times, usually younger kids.
God bless, why does that keep happening? Stop. The first 6 Star Wars films are very much mine and my philosophy. And I think that philosophy sort of goes beyond any particular time because it's based on history. It's based on philosophy. It's based on a lot of things. You see what George did there? That kid asked him about some modern bullshit. And George said, in a nice way, George said, it doesn't need modern bullshit. It's a story that stands the test of time, right? It's about family. It's about good versus evil. It's about trying to do what's right. It's about helping your friends. Things that we can all relate to no matter where we are, no matter the time, the place, the date, the people. So there you go. It's quite possible that Lucas might have to cut a deal with the Walt Disney Company to return to Star Wars and right the ship in return for his support of Bob Iger and the Walt Disney Company Board of Directors as opposed to Nelson Peltz. So yeah, he said that it might be possible that Lucas has cut a deal with them. And I don't know. Check out that Doomcock video. Check out that Doomcock video. So, and this is bounding into comics, and this goes into what was that guy's name? Roger Christian, who was the assistant director. That was the gentleman who said that he thinks that George is coming back, this man on the right. And this story goes into him praising Dave Filoni, so I don't know if we want to go into that too much. But some interesting stuff. Let's see. And then Jon Favreau unlikely to continue working on Star Wars projects after the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. So Out with the new, in with the old. So George Lucas may be coming back, and Jon Favreau may be on his way out. And Dave Filoni, it looks like, is probably going to stay. I'm guessing. I mean, that's not a surprise, though, because he's he's Kathleen Kennedy's little bitch boy. Let's just read a little bit of this one, I guess. Let's just go into it a little bit. Excuse me. Sorry. According to Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope assistant director and set dresser Roger Christian, not only has current Lucasfilm chief creative officer Dave Filoni done an excellent job helping to guide the current state of the franchise, but he has also proven himself to be a worthy successor to Star Wars creator George Lucas himself. Has George Lucas come out and said anything positive about Dave Filoni? I don't know. Christian, who in addition to helping direct the first ever Star Wars film, also served as its set dresser, in doing so designing some of the franchise's most iconic visual elements, including Han Solo's DL-44 blaster pistol, the Millennium Falcon's cockpit, and the hilt of Anakin Skywalker's original lightsaber as given to Luke in A New Hope. Offered his opinion of the Star Wars, the Clone Wars, and the Rebels creators' thus far body of work while making an April 22nd appearance on a live stream hosted by YouTuber Star Wars Theory. Following a discussion regarding his disagreement with the antagonism that was thrown Lucas's way for his work on the prequel trilogy, Christian eventually opined to his host, I think he's coming back, Okay, so we were talking about that. We already heard that. Prophesying. We talked about that. So, next, prompted by the twin discussions of Star Wars' current production status and Lucas's possible return, Christian then proceeded to turn his attentions to Filoni, asserting Dave Filoni has done such an incredible job of being George, bringing back everything George, and then trails off. Met with the agreeing declaration from Star Wars Theory saying, I always say, that Dave gets a lot of flack, just as George did, but he's the closest thing we have to George. Sad state of affairs. And then Christian said, yeah, he is. So, but even George has said that he doesn't like the Star Wars. And I wonder if George Lucas thought he was doing such a good job, would he agree to come back? I don't know. It doesn't feel like we have any real solid verification yet that he's actually coming back. Maybe we do. I don't know. It just doesn't feel like it's really set in stone. And if he was happy with the way things were going, why would he come back? Elaborating on his praise for Filoni, Christian detailed, George has another talent that has gone unsung, is that across the board, he's hired people, me and John Barry. Okay, so this is all stuff we did talk about. So going on to talk about Filoni, let's see. George wrote that stuff that couldn't be done, and he always said, I put it out there and I figured out someone would make it work, he continued. When Dave Filoni, his story that I've read, I've never met Dave, but he was an animator at Disney, and they invited several people to go be in charge of the Clone Wars, the animation series, and Dave says himself, I flew there and I'm sitting with George at the table, and he says, I could dine out for the rest of my life on this, and he got chosen. I think George recognized in him somebody as well who had some kind of passionate understanding and would never go, no, you can't do that, concluded Christian. Probably a few things that Dave Filoni and other people, producers, writers, directors probably should have said, no, you can't do that. In fact, you shouldn't do that. He would find the ways to do it, so I think that's a huge talent George has. Notably, Lucas himself has gone on record of being a personal fan of Filoni's handling of the franchise. Oh, well, there you go. There it is. Asked by Vanity Fair in 2019 if he had any thoughts to offer on his heir apparent, the Star Wars creator recalled, I immediately found him to be very open-minded and a great listener, which are qualities I admire because it opens a person up to new experiences. And I was just giving him advice along the way. Well, that's great. I agree. It's fantastic if people are open-minded and great listeners, but is he talented? Is he creative? Is he good at what he does? Does he understand Star Wars for what it is? Or does he just want to mold it into what he sees, right? Mold it into his vision, his modern vision of Star Wars. Dave Filoni will do whatever Kathleen Kennedy tells him to do. So then we go back to this, right? Jon Favreau unlikely to continue working on Star Wars project. The birth of the man, and here's Jon Favreau and RDJ standing together. RDJ continues to look skiddier and worse. Eat a steak, eat a cheeseburger. The birth of the Mandalorian series put Disney Plus on the map. This is That Park Place, and this was from April 18th. But the era of believing they can catch Netflix is long gone, as are the days of Star Wars fan excitement surrounding potential stories ahead in a galaxy far, far away. For Jon Favreau, directing the Mandalorian and Grogu movie could be the end. Before Lucasfilm fired Gina Carano, before the Book of Boba Fett landed with a thud, and before the thrill of seeing Luke Skywalker potentially train Baby Yoda was all washed away, there was a kindling of hope for Star Wars. Despite a rapidly decreasing profits made for each of Disney Star Wars movies chronologically, ultimately leading to losses, Disney Plus offered Jon Favreau a more pristine sandbox to play in. Significant options existed to resolve or smooth out problematic storytelling from a sequel trilogy that was muddled with a variety of competing visions that never came together cohesively. And even for those who continued to support Lucasfilm President Kathleen Kennedy, they did not yet have the data that Star Wars was failing to live up to its expected return on investment. Okay, so you know what? Maybe we should talk about that a little bit. So basically, I brought that up to show that just kind of all the turmoil that's going on in Star Wars, right? Jon Favreau out. All sorts of stuff being canceled. And it even says right here, because of Star Wars failure, their merchandising partner, Hasbro, had to fire 20% of its total workforce. So everything that Disney is doing it's literally harming their business partners. Because no one can sell these stupid toys of fucking Rose Tico. But Jon Favreau is going to be out, right? And there have been stories, there have been reports of him being pissed off and upset at everyone, Kathleen Kennedy and everyone in there, all of management. He's going to be out, and George Lucas apparently coming back. And all this turmoil is not super surprising, I guess. But what we did find out, this is April 14th, Disney Star Wars, this is Forbes. Oh, come on, Forbes. I'm not paying for your crap. I guess we won't read that. Okay, let's just move on. Basically, damn it, Forbes. Hold on, let's try something here. Will this work, Forbes? Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. There we go. Okay. So this is Forbes, April 14th, 2024. Disney Star... Never mind. Fuck it. Didn't that feel like a troll? Let's do this one. So now this is on the Microsoft Start webpage, whatever this is. I don't know. It just gives you stuff for free. Good. When Disney first purchased the Star Wars brand, the company did so in hopes of extending its market reach. Thanks to its iconic Disney princesses and other girl brands, the company had a firm grasp on female audiences. Marvel and Star Wars specifically were purchased to help Disney bring in more boy audiences. So then why did they turn it into a girl brand? Why did they try to turn it into a girl brand? Why? Internally, this was well understood. Purportedly, in 2015, an anonymous Disney employee admitted to the company allocating fewer resources towards promoting Marvel and Lucasfilm to female audiences. They weren't the target, at least not back then. Largely, in the nearly 10 years since then, Disney Star Wars projects have largely leaned away from that tact, instead opting to go for more of a unisex and even female-first audiences. 4 of the 5 theatrical Disney Star Wars releases, Force Awakens, Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker, and Rogue One, have all featured central female protagonists. Another female-focused movie, the upcoming Rey prequel, if that ever happens, will star a female character and be directed by a feminist activist as well. True. Boy, I forgot all about that because no one's been talking about it. Based on a recent report from Forbes, perhaps Disney should have just stuck to the original plan. The report, published Sunday, reveals that the Disney Star Wars box office profits have failed to make up for the cost of purchasing Lucasfilm, which is the company behind Star Wars. Disney bought Lucasfilm for $4 billion, but the net box office profits from Star Wars films have only been $1.2 billion. And that's not even factoring in the cost of marketing those films. The latest Indiana Jones film, another Lucasfilm property, likely lost the company a significant sum of money at the box office as well, driving those profits down even further. On the television front, the Star Wars brand isn't looking much better. Though, as Forbes noted, the incredibly popular first season of The Mandalorian saw a surge in Disney Plus subscribers, later seasons of the show, there's an error, and its spin-offs have failed to bring in nearly as much viewership and critical acclaim. The report goes on to imply that Disney may have recently misled its investors about the success of its Star Wars property. So when did this come out again? Just 1 week ago? Okay, so on the 21st? Yeah, just a few days after the shareholder meeting. You notice all this stuff comes out, all of this shit that they wanted to announce came out after the shareholder vote. And the stock has already gone down by about $10, $11. How much do you think it would have crashed if all of this shit came out beforehand? They're a fucking disaster. I am pretty shocked. I mean, there is a shareholder lawsuit against them, right? Maybe there was. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, at the end of last year, the shareholders are in the process of suing them. Bob Chapek, Disney execs, that was in May. And then Bob Iger is in the new lawsuit. That was back in September. And yeah, of course they misled investors. Jesus, that's all they've been doing. So basically, yeah, they paid $4 billion. Box office profits have been $1.2 billion. Now, remember they said here the marketing, that doesn't even account for marketing. And usually with the production budget, you double that, right? So if someone tells you it was a $200 million movie, you add in marketing, that's usually $200 million as well. It usually matches the production budget. So they're losing money left and right. They're in a world of shit. And I, for one, I am an accelerationist when it comes to stuff like this. Just let it burn. The quicker that this burned down, the quicker that we can rebuild. And we can rebuild. And we will. We'll be all right. We'll be okay. All right. But while we were talking about all that stuff, is Robert Downey Jr. coming back? Is Robert Downey Jr. going to come back? Because there have been talks of this as well. We're talking about people coming back to Disney. Robert Downey Jr., this is Variety, and this was April 26th by Zach Sharf. Robert Downey Jr. would happily return to Marvel, but his Avengers directors say we closed that book on Iron Man after the Endgame death. We'll see about that. Robert Downey Jr. elated Marvel fans earlier this month when he told Esquire magazine that he would happily return to the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Tony Stark and Iron Man following his Oscar win for Best Supporting Actor in March, his Oscar win for Oppenheimer. There's only one hiccup. Iron Man died in 2019's Avengers Endgame. Well, when has death stopped Marvel from doing retarded shit? But the MCU's ever-expanding multiverse certainly leaves the door open for Downey's return. Just look at Hugh Jackman, who is back playing a different iteration of Wolverine in this summer's Deadpool and Wolverine after his original X-Men hero died in Logan. There you go. And would it really surprise anyone if RDJ showed up in Deadpool Wolverine. I kind of think he's going to. I kind of think he will. Like, we know there's going to be a lot of cameos in Deadpool and Wolverine. And in the trailer, they've shown quite a few cameos. Not direct, not like in the face, but they've had a lot of hints for cameos and a few frames where you can actually pause and zoom in on some of the cameos and whatnot. So my thing is, we know it's going to be cameo heavy, and they've already shown us a few. They're saving the big ones for when you get in the theater, right? There's going to be some huge cameos in this movie. I think there's going to be some big payoffs in this movie. They let Ryan Reynolds do carte blanche on this, basically, and I think he is going to call in some favors. I think he's going to get some big names for this. Oh, let's see. In a recent interview with Games Radar Plus, Avengers in-game directors Joe and Anthony Russo expressed some confusion over Downey's Iron Man popping back up in the MCU after they killed the character off so heroically in their record-breaking film. I don't know how they would do it, Anthony said. I don't know what the road to that would be. I wonder if they would come back and direct him if he was in another movie. I don't know. If I were Robert Downey Jr., that's exactly what I would do. I would only come back if they met every single demand. Every single demand. And I would say I would start with $250 million in the bank after taxes. You pay the taxes. $250 million in the bank after taxes, and my family, me and my family, get 3% on everything Disney makes in perpetuity for the rest of time. And that's that. If you come back with anything less, I turn around and fuck right off. They need him. He doesn't need them. Joe added, I mean, we closed that book so it would be up to them to figure out how to reopen it. For what it's worth, Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige didn't appear too interested in bringing Downey's Iron Man back to the big screen when he spoke to Vanity Fair last December. We're going to keep that moment and not touch that moment again, Feige said at the time about Iron Man's death. We all worked very hard for many years to get to that, and we would never want to magically undo it in any way. You're so full of shit. However, those comments were made before Downey went public, saying he'd be open to putting the Iron Man suit back on. Given Marvel's recent box office disappointments, including last year's Ant-Man Quantumania and The Marvels, Downey's return might be more appealing as Iron Man has proven to be box office gold for the studio. Happily, it's too integral a part of my DNA, Downey told Esquire about whether he returned to the MCU. That role chose me. And look, I always say never, ever bet against Kevin Feige. It's a losing bet. He's the house. He will always win. Because The Marvels was a real winner. The ball is in Kevin Feige's court. It is. Robert Downey Jr. is that role. It's my favorite Avenger. He's great. He's absolutely great in that role. And this was back on April 8th when, yes, Robert Downey Jr. did confirm that he will return. I thought this said something else. Robert Downey Jr. is a newly minted Academy Award winner, but all the accolades in the world won't stop him from returning to the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Iron Man. Hold on a second. I don't think this one is more up to date from Variety in April 26th. I don't think there's verification that he's coming back. I think he has just said that, yeah, I'll come back. But there have not been any announcements. Confirms that he would return, that he would like to return. He has no problem with it. All right. Let's see what else we want to talk about. How much longer we're going to go. We're going to... Let's see. We're going to end with some video game news and then just some crazy shit, because I like to talk about crazy shit, but I'm just trying to figure out where to go first. So let's go to Stellar Blade, because, all right, we're going to go to Stellar Blade because there's been some controversy around this, a couple of controversies, but we're going to get into it in a second, right? I'm going to take one last restroom break before we get into it, and we'll come back. We'll wrap this up with some video game content, and we'll talk about some crazy goings-on in the world, in your world, the real world, and then we'll wrap it up. So don't you go anywhere. I'll be right back. All right. All right. Let's get back to it. Let's wrap it up with some video game conversation. So, I am sure you've probably heard the news by now. There's been some controversy surrounding Stellar Blade, Sony's Stellar Blade. And this is Fandom Pulse. This is Fandom Pulse, April 26, 24. Serena Strauss. Grum shares a strategy to combat Sony's censorship in Stellar Blade. So let me show. So Stellar Blade came out, and people are actually loving it. People are actually really enjoying the game. And of course, you know, all of the crazy woke crazies, the freaks came out, and they just had to attack Stellar Blade because they don't like sexy women. They don't like femininity. Here's the rating, right? So this is on Twitter. I'm just scrolling through some Twitter reviews and comments on it. Stellar Blade has achieved a user score of 91, making it the third highest rated game in PlayStation history. I doubt it's probably the third best game in PlayStation history, but I haven't played it yet, so maybe it is. I don't know. But what they did, excuse me, they altered some of the clothing a little bit. They covered up a little bit of cleavage, and they covered up a little bit of thigh compared to the original. So there she is running around all half naked and whatnot, or just naked. But one thing they did was there was some controversy about this, right? So you see this on the top left, and you can't really see it there. Maybe it was just in the article. Oh crap, I didn't mean to close that. But here it goes. Let's just go back to this because it does show it. Here's the image where it says hard R in the game, right? Now, it doesn't say this anymore. They actually did a patch to change this. But apparently, and this must be a colloquialism to America, that hard R refers to the N-word, if you did not know. You know, like the big, bad N-word. Hard R. Not the friendly version. You know what I mean? Not the what's up homie version. So with PlayStation Stellar Blade body-shaming backlash facing Sony and manufactured racism from DIE provocateurs has come to a fever point, now it appears that Mark Kern, also known as Grums, has released a play-by-play thread on how the fans and real gamers can get Sony back on track and supporting players. And then they kind of summed it up there where they actually changed this. I wonder if they got the image for what they changed it to. Because they actually ended up changing it to crime, and then it says R, and then people came out and started saying that crimer was a racist term that I have never heard of in my entire life. And then if you go on like Urban Dictionary, it says that crimer is a black urban youth that commits crime or something, some stupid bullshit like that. I mean, these people just look for shit to make up and be pissed off about. So here's Grums again. Step 1. Reached out to Kim Hyung Tae, creator of Stellar Blade. While we have had some casual DMs before, I sent him this morning. Launch day is very busy. He will not be in the office for some time, or if he is, it will be in meetings, so I don't expect to hear back. That's not the point. The point is to get the ball rolling. The first few steps Mark Kern remarks on are to reach out to the creator of Stellar Blade, developer Shift Up, and the studio Second Eve Studio. Remind them that you appreciate his work and the stances that they are taking on the anti-censorship. Because so Shift Up, the studio that made the game, they came out and said that they weren't going to censor. But then, so the developer Shift Up, Studio Second Eve, they came out and said, we're not going to censor. But Sony, who's distributing it and, bought up all the rights and everything, Sony, they are the ones who gave in to all of the pressure. And Sony's a woke company. Sony is a woke corporation. Make no mistake about it. Especially Sony America. So they are the ones who caved to the pressure. They're the ones who folded. And you got to think, when you're a developer and you're just trying to get your game out and you've got this insane anticipation for this game, and there have been reports of the sales just going through the roof, that Best Buys and all sorts of people cannot keep PlayStations in stock, that PlayStation 5s have been selling left and right because people want to play this game. But think that you hear all this anticipation and you think sales are going to be through the roof, and you come out and say, yeah, we're not going to censor anything. We're just going to release the game as is. And the people that own all the distribution rights come and say, yeah, you got to do this. Right? Yeah, it's a bit of a kick in the balls. So here we're going on with Mark Kearns. Step 2, he follows me. As I tweet about what we're going to do, you can leave replies and he will likely see how many there are and read them. Everything we say matters. The goal is change, and this is a different culture. Let's set the tone for what they see. Be polite, be brief, but clear. Show the support for changing it back. No black pill replies. Everyone fights. Nobody quits. You notice the difference between something like this, something like what Mark Kern is saying, and I don't know what the people like Alyssa Mercante and those over at Kotaku would say, right? I mean, they will literally just come out and threaten people, right? And just threaten people with death and destruction. And Mark Kearns is saying, Grums is saying, it's like, no, be well thought out, be respectful, show them what you believe, say what's on your mind in a polite way, no black pill. Everybody fights, nobody quits. Don't run around threatening to burn down people's homes or anything. Kern emphasizes the importance of being well-mannered and respectful, even when addressing the issue of his apparent shadow banning on X and other social media platforms. The staff Stellar Blade don't need angry babies shouting at social media types. A cool head and disappointment in the actions of X Twitter is all that's needed. So step 3, I am search banned on Twitter like an NSFW tag artists get, even though I don't post NSFW. This is likely to anti-Grum's forces falsely mass reporting me for NSFW, likely Stellar Blade images, yes, and triggering automated responses. This limits people searching for my tweets. Help me get X and support. That is, you know what? I actually did try searching for him a little bit on Twitter, and it was a little more difficult to find his stuff. That's interesting. For now, only direct links to my Twitter will work, so you have to post a link when you start spreading the battle plan. Only direct links to my Twitter will work, so you have to post a link when you start spreading the battle plan. He posted that twice in that message. Autocomplete to tag me won't work. You have to type grums. Not every user is affected. Kern also reminds people that the Asian culture is slightly different than ours, so emails, though needed, may not be the most preferable. In addition to emails, he suggests writing handwritten notes to the creators, telling them they support their AAA game. This will give the makers of Stellar Blade even more encouragement and appreciate our cause in the most direct way. And then we'll just end right here on this one. Step 4, contact shift up offices. To be most effective, you need to mail a physical letter. Expats or Korean fans need to also politely visit their offices to physically drop off a letter, but also email. You can send it here, and he has the email address. Asian cultures are different, and tone and physical mail carries more weight than emails. Funny enough, faxes work too. MMO companies there even have centers customers can visit. He message, your game is more than a game. It is a cultural beacon worldwide for change in AAA gaming. You have our support. Please reverse the changes and show us the game uncensored. And so on and so forth. And the next few steps, what does he say? Go directly at Sony and PlayStation. He said in Sony, go after them social media, which is the most prominent soapbox for them. And then he has some suggestions. He has a phone number here where you can call Sony. He said there's something here where he says cancel your PlayStation Network subscription. And there were some people who on Twitter... There were some people on Twitter who were... But I think I closed it. Whatever. But this is... It is important, right? It is important. Just to show them what kind of material we're looking for, what kind of material you're looking for if you're a gamer, because what's been happening to the gaming industry, right? It's been taken over by a bunch of woke crazies, and they keep pushing all of this stuff into the game, saying that this is what modern audiences want. This is what modern audiences want. This is what you want. You don't know you want it, but this is what you want. This is what you need, right? And we've seen, studios, devs going out of work, losing business, closing up shop because no, people don't want that. They, in fact, do not want that. The market has spoken. This will be a huge, huge opportunity for the market to shout from the rooftop that this is what we want. This is the kind of game we want. This is the kind of material we want. And it's not only just from being uncensored. By all accounts, the game is a very good game, very entertaining game. It's got a 91 score. People say the gameplay, playing the combat's very good. I've watched some people play it. Graphics look fantastic. So it looks like it's not only, this isn't something that's just from, like I said, the censorship aspect. It appears to be a genuinely good game that just focuses on the things that gamers want. There's no messaging in it whatsoever. And as for this hard R messaging, the TV's plan is for this bullshit. This is just artificial hatred. Well, it's artificial anger. It's real hatred from them. They hate us. They hate you. They hate me. If you are a gamer, and I read this because if you do want to do something about it, This is an enormous opportunity for gamers to have their voices heard and to do something, right? So go check it out. If you wanted to do something, I mean, but first you could start by buying the game if it's your cup of tea. If not, whatever. But even if not, and you wanted to show some kind of support, you could maybe just buy a copy of the game. See if you can get a physical copy. I would suggest that. And then maybe just go check out Grums's strategy on Twitter. Maybe write a letter, do what you want. I mean, I think when people hear these kinds of things, they see these kind of things, they think, well, I'm not going to do that. It's not going to do anything. Well, if everyone has that attitude, then yeah, nothing's going to happen. But, if 100,000 people, 200,000 people send a physical letter, that's quite the impact. Excuse me, burped. Because they understand that's just a fraction of the people who actually have that opinion. So maybe if you wanted to do something like that, maybe go check that out. I mean, it's important, right? And it's the culture war. It's the battle for it's the battle for creativity. It's the battle for meritocracy, right? It's in a lot of ways, it's a battle for a way of life, right? To show people that we value things like meritocracy and creativity and not being censored over messaging and ideology, right? There's no one specific ideology being pushed in this game. By any account, there is no ideology being pushed in this. One way or another. It's just a game. And that's one of the beauties about games is that people from all walks of life and all backgrounds can play the same game and all enjoy it for what it is, right? All of the people, like I think even Alyssa Mercante was coming out on Twitter and saying, it's like, God, I really want to hate Stellar Blade, but she's just too sexy. And everyone seems to be enjoying the game very much. It brings people together. Because there's no bullshit trying to tell you what to think and trying to tell you you're a bad person just for existing. And people enjoy that. Than not being told you're a piece of shit for existing. It's like when just focus on the gameplay. Can you do that? They did. Looks like it worked. So while we're talking about games, the state of the video game industry is shit. I don't have to tell you that. BlizzCon 2024 is canceled. A Blizzard rumored to be losing massive amounts of money on conventions. This was April 26th from Fandom Pulse. And I'm not going to go into this one, but I just wanted to show that. I am going to go into a little bit on this one from Forbes. Well, my Forbes articles have been shutting down on me because I'm not subscribed, and Forbes is a bunch of bitches. So if this closes on me as I scroll through, I don't know what to tell you. But Forbes, which one do I want to start with here? Okay, let's start with this one. This was April 25th. Forbes Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League at 200 peak Steam players. At what point do you abandon a live roadmap? So let's check out the current. Let's refresh. So right now there's 189 people playing Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Peak 24-hour peak of 237. All-time peak of 13,000. That was way back ago. Way long time ago, right at the opening, right at the release. Goodness. I have just checked back into the Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, to see how things are going over there during the launch of its first season, and the answer is somehow worse than I expected. Despite a postseason launch pass that was supposed to eliminate a number of issues, one of those was not eliminating the multi-hour grind to unlock Joker, and the brief surge of players this game received has fallen down to quite literally almost nothing. As of this week, Suicide Squad is now peaking at 214 players on Steam. The lowest so far during off hours is 102 players. While the game never did terribly well on Steam, peaking at 13,000 players at launch and getting back to only 3,000 when Joker launched, I think we now have to ask ourselves the question, when do you just abandon a pre-made live service roadmap? And there's something, they get into it, but I think there's a dozen DLCs for this. Like there's at least 10 more. I'm pretty sure. That's wild, man. That's wild. The idea was always that no matter what, Suicide Squad would get out content to last the year, but that still requires polish and fixes and support, even if much of it may be in fact done right now. But there was a point where you want to consider cutting your losses entirely. Given that this is cost-cutting Warner Brothers we're talking about, this seems like an especially relevant issue. Oh shit, yeah, I didn't even think about that. The counterpoint that console numbers are higher just doesn't resonate. Suicide Squad has not been in the top 50 most played games on Xbox since a short while after launch, and the Joker season didn't put it there either. We have no data on PlayStation players since it never regained footing in the visible top 10. There are leaderboard numbers that show up in-game, but it's unclear how those are calculated, whether they are live players or if they're counting anyone who ever logged into the game. Jesus. One last-ditch attempt to salvage things might be to do a deal with PlayStation Plus or Xbox Game Pass, something Marvel's Avengers eventually did itself, but it still was not enough to keep things running in the long term. But this is still the short term, and we're talking about a game that is barely a couple months old. The problem with the roadmap is also the nature of the roadmap. Joker is obviously the biggest name character they are adding this year. The next 2 seasons are a gender-flipped Mrs. Freeze. Are you fucking kidding me? So they're doing a gender-flipped Mrs. Freeze, and then Zoe Lawton, Deadshot's daughter. Dude, it's the same thing every single time. Every time. Their idea of creativity is just switching gender, switching skin color, or making it someone's daughter. That's the extent of their creativity. That's it. It's the same thing every single time. I know that we're hip to their grift, to their game, but at some point, when these people come into a boardroom and they start saying, it's like, oh, we're going to switch the gender, oh, we're going to switch the skin color, oh, we're going to switch, it's going to be his daughter this time. At what point does the board or the developers, they look at you as this narrative consultant and they say, we've done this a dozen times. This is literally the only thing we've been doing. What else do you have? And they won't. Do you know why? Because they don't want to be called a racist. Or a sexist, or some kind of bigot, or phobe, or ist, or whatever the fuck. Only when you reach Season 4 in 7 to 8 months will the game see Deathstroke arrive, a character many players are genuinely looking forward to, myself included. There is an idea that Rocksteady should just pull the trigger and release everything all at once instead of spacing it out, but again, that's not how it works. Well, you might have to change things. Not all of this is actually done yet, and you can't just do that. There's also monetization in that the game is now only monetized through cosmetics. Those are season passes, which have proved to be a brutal grind, or store skins, which have been proven to be very, very poor so far. Seasons and characters themselves are not sold, though in this case, they did put a grind barrier in front of Joker that you could pay to skip, something everyone hated. It feels like PS5 Plus or Game Pass is the only way forward, but I don't think that will change anything. And with these numbers, not just bad, but almost unbelievably low. There's no reversing course here if the first season didn't fix enough issues, add enough content, or attract enough people. At this point, I would call it and try to get Rocksteady working in full on something completely different, more aligned with player interest. The writing and everything has gotten so shit. I genuinely hope we are not headed towards significant layoffs over there as a result of this game. I imagine you are. Or they are, rather. I mean, none of this is surprising. None of it's shocking. None of it's surprising. And then Forbes just yesterday, was it? Yeah, okay. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League announces huge emergency changes. So then we go into it, and they say you can now get all tiers of Infamy sets on Mastery 1, even if higher ones will be more rare than lower ones. The difference between the difficulty and power tier sets, master grades, corrupted items. So basically, they're just trying to offer a bunch more shit that you originally would have to have do a grind for or unlock later in the game or maybe pay for. So now they're just trying to give away free shit to get more people to buy the game and play the game. And I highly doubt it's going to work because nobody's talking about this game. The only time we ever get any conversation about it is when someone in the mainstream media has to do a positive hit piece for it to try to gin up some interest. And does it work? Nope. All right. Last thing on the video game front. So Adam Sessler had another breakdown. Okay, and deleted his Twitter again. And I'm just going to go over the tweets that he had and what happened. So, Adam Sessler from G4, these are his tweets. This is back on April 24th. Had an epiphany. These protesting kids are pretty much Trump voters. I want to make it very clear. This has nothing to do with what I think about politics. This has everything to do with me just commenting and pointing out a crazy person. Had an epiphany. These protesting kids are pretty much Trump voters. Sure as shit ain't voting for Biden. So I feel towards them like any Trump voter. Fuck them. If the cops bust their teeth in, fine. At the end of the day, they hate me and wish me harm, not wringing my hands. So I want to make it very clear. He's talking about the college kids who are protesting on college campuses right now all over the country. There's something like 40 or 50 college campuses that have these protests right now. That it has been proven, by the way, it's been discovered that George Soros is paying for these protests to happen. In fact, on the University of Austin, Texas University of Austin campus, it was discovered that when they arrested them, when they cleared the protesters out, nearly half of the protesters arrested were not students of the university. They were just paid to be there and cause a problem, cause trouble. But what he's saying that these kids who say that they support Hamas, right? And again, I'm just pointing out what's happening. He is saying that these kids are going to vote for Trump. So what's happening here is that he has such bad Trump derangement syndrome that when he sees something that he finds repugnant, his brain automatically connects it to Donald Trump, no matter what it is. So he's not thinking at all, right? He's doing all sorts of crazy mental gymnastics to try to convince himself of what's going on. It's really something. These kids who in a million years will never vote for Donald Trump, ever. And yet he's convinced himself that they will. Cops, blah, blah, blah. So, and then someone's responding to him. Yeah, man, kids and faculty protesting for peace specifically hate you. Adam says, they hate Zionists, right? Well, I'm a Jew. I want to point something out real quick. As far as I know, there's a fairly big difference between a Zionist and just a regular Jew. So I thought it was interesting that he connected the two, right? He's kind of inferring that he's a Zionist. Interesting. Merry Little Bastard replies, do you think there aren't Jews at those protests? Adam says, those Uncle Tom JVP fucks. Yeah, I'm aware of them. They rent themselves out to give anti-Semites cover. Hold on a second. What? Those Uncle Tom JVP fucks. Yeah, I'm aware of them. This guy is out of his fucking mind. Dude. Is there more? No, that's it. Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. lost his damn mind. Are you going to be a guest at ClussyCom this year? I heard they were trying to get you as a guest. I have zero idea what you're referring to. It's a convention in Omaha. Have the staff not reached out to you yet? No. And you can let them know that it's kind of thought, but I'm not doing anything akin to appearances. Okay, so now he's just blocked. Okay, so he's just lost his mind. He's just lost his mind. Oh my. I think we found his final post. Oh, shit. Well, let's go through this, and then we'll go through this. Got a little bit of crazy news after this, and then we'll wrap it up from there. I don't know what his full name is. Adam Genocidal Scumbag Guantanamo or Guacamole. I don't know. I don't care, really. Okay, final post. Tried to point out that good intentions protesting Israel are corrupted with hateful means, screaming for Jews to die in one or another fashion, but that requires reading skills beyond what my audience ever achieved. That was my bad. Okay, so now he's just going after everyone. But this experience does reinforce how much I regret spending the better part of my life in your virtual company. So he's just talking straight shit to everyone who follows him. Catering to idiot gamers was a miserable experience because it was a daily exercise in encouraging a dog to not eat its own shit. I gotta admit, his writing is funny. His writing is pretty fucking funny. Couple that with a daily view of the groupthink mentality that characterizes gamers, and seeing that same reductive logic applied to matters like IP is nothing short of terrifying. Spent a good chunk of those shitty years in front of the camera trying to make things better for people who were not me, and to see in the last 7 months the breadth and comfort in the expression of anti-Semitic tropes and views has been dispiriting. It's not getting any better, so I'm just going to turn my back and hope I can ignore it enough to finish reading a book as you slobbering idiots tear each other apart. It sucks to regret a quarter century of effort, but it sucks more to delude oneself into thinking it was worth it. Fuck you. Fuck the gamers. Fuck the leftists. Fuck the Gamergators. Fuck games. They're really not that impressive, and the monetization of your sycophancy is just scary to watch from the stage. Time to go away and try to find something good before I expire. Damn. Wow. And what's... Oh, is this him on cocaine or something? I don't have verification of that. He's just acting really weird. And this guy's like, what the fuck? Is there sound on this? Well, no. Just a GIF. Okay. Well, there's all that. So, boy, imagine this guy had an insane take. This guy lost his mind. Reasonable. All right. So going from that crazy to let's go to this crazy. You remember Alec Baldwin, and remember when Alec Baldwin got accosted by some crazy lady in a coffee shop and he smacked the phone out of her hand? Well, that crazy lady went on Piers Morgan, and that crazy lady had some kind of odd breakdown on Piers Morgan, and I didn't see it until just recently, but here she is. Hey, Piers! Now, this is the lady. Remember, this is the lady that was harassing Alec Baldwin when he was in a coffee shop. It was just him and the barista and everything. And she comes in and is like, hey, Alec, why'd you kill that lady? Hey, Alec, can you say something about Palestine? Say something about Israel and Palestine? Hey, Alec, why'd you kill that lady? And then Alec did the fake out where he was like trying to he was acting like he was looking at the barista, and then he smacked the phone out of her hand. That was my favorite part about that whole video. But this is the lady who was doing that. She was on Piers Morgan. Let's take a look.
Well, welcome to Uncensored.
Hey, Piers! I've been waiting for you, Piers fucking Morgan!
Not particularly, no. Do you want to sit down?
And Pierce, can you bring me to Buckingham Palace? I would like to meet the Queen.
Well, I'll tell you what.
I'd really like to meet the Queen.
I don't think the Queen, if you mean Queen Camilla, she is probably tied up with royal engagements.
Oh, sorry.
If you meant the Queen who
Well,
died.
get me in, Pierce.
Yeah.
Get me fucking in, Pierce. I want it.
Okay. Can I take you back, if I may, to what you did to Alec Baldwin? Can you explain why you did it?
Yeah.
What did I do to Alec Baldwin? Pierce, do you see the damage that Alec did to me? Do you see the damage? Look at my arms. Look at my arms, Pierce. Look at my neck. I was maimed by a white man on Monday. You're telling me what I did?
No, you weren't maimed by Alec Baldwin on Monday, were you?
I was maimed.
No, you weren't.
My hand is broken. My neck is broken.
No, it's
my
not.
Legs. Look at my legs. My legs don't work. Look at this. Pierce. Pierce, are you another white devil? Pierce Morgan. Don't do this to me, Pierce. It's too early in the morning, Pierce. Pierce, it's too early.
Not the wig.
Your wig's come off.
It's not a wig, Pierce. It's my hair. I'm a white woman. I identify as a white woman.
All right.
Well, welcome.
So there's a
to
part of me,
Uncensored.
there's a part of me that kind of likes her. There's a part of me that thinks this is some kind of like performative trolling, right? And that she doesn't care like who she offends. She doesn't care that who she harasses. She doesn't care who she pisses off. Maybe. I don't know. This is the first I've ever, other than the Alec Baldwin harassment video, this is the only other time I've seen this crazy bitch. Oh, so her name is Crackhead Barney, a performance artist, an ambush interviewer. Okay. That's Crackhead Barney. Wonder what other performative pieces they have. Oh, here we go. Crackhead Barney right here.
Alec Baldwin, you motherfucker. This what you did to me. You thought my phone was a gun prop. He tried to shoot bullets from my phone. Alec, you'll hear from me. You'll hear from my lawyer, Alec. They busted white bitches up in the streets. Oh my.
Now I just hate her. And I don't know. You can just put her in with the protesters that the police are going to knock the teeth out of. Like, it's one thing to go on Piers Morgan and do it, right? It's just Piers Morgan. If you're going to piss him off and ruin his show or whatever, just go for it. I don't care about that. But for all of these people in the park who are just trying to... There's some dude who gets 30 minutes a day to go to this park and eat his lunch, right? He's having a shit day at work, man. He hates his boss. He has to walk to and from work, all that bullshit. He's sitting, the only peace he gets every day is when he gets to sit in the park for 30 minutes and eat his bologna sandwich and get to look at the birds, and it's just a moment of peace. And then you get Crackhead Barney coming up doing all this wild shit. And this is a big reason why people think they're losing their minds, because everywhere they look in society, there's people acting like this. Whatever. All right, some more weird news. I don't know why I clicked on this particular website, but it's the Greek Reporter. So in Antarctica, there's a volcano spitting out gold. Spitting out $6,000 worth of gold every single day. Huh. Didn't think you were going to be getting geography news today, did you? An active volcano in Antarctica is shooting $6,000 in gold dust into the air every single day, NASA's Earth Observatory revealed last week. The volcano on Mount Erebus spits pockets of gas containing 80 grams of crystallized gold daily, it says. So 28 grams in an ounce, so that's about 3, a little under 3 ounces. Mount Erebus is arguably Antarctica's most famous volcano. It holds the titles of the tallest active volcano on the continent, with its summit reaching 12,448 feet, or 3,794 meters, and the southernmost active volcano on Earth. Named after the personification of darkness in Greek mythology, Mount Erebus was erupting when Captain Sir James Clark Ross first discovered it in 1841. It sits alongside two other volcanoes on Ross Island, which bears the name of the aforementioned British explorer. The new finding remains consistent with a 1991 spotting of gold emission from the volcano, both then and now. Researchers have detected gold particles in the volcanic gases emitted by the volcano, as well as in surrounding snow. Well, maybe this is why all the different countries of the world are trying to conquer Antarctica. Maybe this is why they sent all those science expeditions down there. Gold deposits likely originated from volcanic rock. Philip Kyle from the New Mexico Institute of Mining and Technology in Socorro clarified that gold deposits can originate in volcanic rock. When lava from the mountain emits hot gas, this carries some of the gold particles into the air. Gold is not nearly as dense as some other metals and rocks and minerals and stuff like that. It's actually it's much more malleable than a lot of things, so it's a little lighter. Mount Erebus apparently spits gold flecks measured between 0.1 and 20 micrometers in the volcanic gases and 60 micrometers in surrounding snow. This volcano is among Antarctica's 138 active volcanoes. You know there's pyramids down there, right? There are. Located on Ross Island in Antarctica, the volcano holds importance due to a tragic event in 1979 when Air New Zealand Flight 901 crashed into its side, resulting in the loss of all passengers and crew. The National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA, Earth Observatory reported that the precious metal dust has been detected as far as 621 miles from Erebus's southernmost lava spewer. This is 12,448 feet high as part of other spewing phenomena. Yeah, we said that. NASA stated it regularly emits plumes of gas and steam and occasionally spits out rock bombs. Connor Bacon of Lamont Doherty Earth Observatory at Columbia University, New York, says that this volcano has been continuously erupting since 1972. Bacon said that Erebus is also understood to comprise a lava lake at one of its summit craters. Okay, we're almost done with this. Minimal impact on the gold market, and while the concept of a volcano that spews gold daily is fascinating, its impact on global demand for gold would likely be minimal unless the conditions for collection and processing undergo significant changes, making it much more economically practical per mugglehead.com. I guarantee you, there are all sorts of people looking into this. There are all sorts of mining corporations right now looking to see what volcanoes they can buy. Not even joking. The impact of a volcano that produces about 80 grams of gold per day is minimal when considered against the global annual gold production of over 3,000 tons, making the volcanic contribution relatively insignificant. Even if collectors could efficiently gather this gold and integrate it into the global market, there might be a slight increase in an overall gold supply. However, the challenging and remote conditions of Antarctica pose significant logistical hurdles that could prevent this. Well, maybe. Because all sorts of world superpowers have research teams and military stations down there. So, who knows? Additionally, the cost of extracting and transporting the gold from such an inhospitable location are likely to outweigh the value of the gold itself, rendering the operation economically unfeasible with current technology and market prices. All right. I just thought that was interesting. The world is an interesting place with interesting stuff happening all the time, and that's kind of what this silly little podcast is about. Just talking about trying to focus mainly on some like the entertainment and the stories of things, but then the story of the world and all the crazy shit that's happening in your world. I just want to bring you some news, like I said, focusing on some of the culture war aspect of it, because I think that's incredibly important for us to talk about. But I think that's also going to do it for today. So thank you for anyone and everyone who showed up and who watched. If If you like what you heard, please hit the like and the subscribe and everything. The like actually helps an incredible amount. Just hitting like it helps a lot. It really does. So I will probably not have another live stream this week. I will probably just be working on the Rebel Moon Part 2 review. I've just been getting more limited time in which I'm able to actually work on stuff. So I'm going to have to use my time wisely, and I really want to get that review completed. It'll probably be at least an hour long, so definitely want to get that. But for anyone and everyone who showed up today, thank you so much. I very much appreciate it. I'm very grateful for all the support, and I hope you have a fantastic week. And everyone, take care of yourselves and take care of each other. I appreciate it, guys. Never stop telling stories. Yeah, we'll leave it there. See ya.